now I think I'll go into talking about the hothouse or fur dome. And the hothouse produces far infrared energy, which is part of the sunlight spectrum. And for those of you that are not familiar with far infrared, if you're outside on a nice sunny day and you're standing there and you just feel that sun coming at you, you can feel the warmth penetrating your body. Well, all of a sudden a cloud comes by and you get cold. You ever feel that? It's like, whew. Well, the air temperature didn't change. What happened? Part of the sunlight spectrum stopped coming through and you got cold. So our hothouse produces far infrared energy that penetrates the body up to 1.5 inches in at full strength. Beyond that, it's a little bit weaker, but it still penetrates even deeper than that. So we tell people the hothouse will do 3 things. It's going to expand your capillaries, increase circulation, and help cells regenerate. Now, if you have any idea what I just said there, it's huge. Cells regenerate. That's huge. So here's what I've noticed on the hothouse. If you use the hothouse, I use it for people with pain, swelling, inflammation, allergies, asthma, sinus conditions, eczema, acne, infections, all those things I use it for, and within 15 minutes to 1 hour session, they'll notice either a difference or a total improvement or completely gone. And again, everybody's different, so I don't know how fast it's going to work for you, but I would definitely try it if you have any of those problems to see what happens. I'd like to share with you in this large testimony book I've got here about far infrared. In fact, when I first heard about this technology, I said, you know what, I don't want a hothouse. I don't need a hothouse. They're too expensive. Why should I get one? I remember it was about the 6th week in this business, well, the 5th or 6th week, I was reading in this testimonial book in here, and I had gone to the back part of the section on testimonies, and it showed clinical treatments with the fur dome. And these were clinical studies that have been done with the fur dome or hothouse. And what happened was, they said that they had, of 150 patients given clinical treatments for sciatica and rheumatism and stiffness in the shoulder and aches and pains and arthritis and bedwetting and frostbite and headaches and inflammation, 70% experienced improvement or complete relief. And I thought, wow, that's powerful. And then I read a little bit more that actually almost sounded too good to be true. This was farther back, and it was in regards to cancer. It says, the cancerous cell has a weakness in its resistance against heat. It will die if the temperature goes above 42 degrees Celsius. The fur dome has its own heat source, which is penetrating and can transmit its heat to the depth of the human body. Then it says, in the Orient, the fur is the #1 way to fight cancer. Here, they're referring to the United States, here we use chemotherapy and radiation. There they've just reversed it. Here people don't usually use the fur until they've exhausted all the resources. It's unfortunate that that's true, but then I read in here about asthma. It says here, a person came into his office with pneumonia, and with therapy through lymphology and the fur dome, the malady was gone. The malady was gone in 15 minutes. And I said, oh my gosh, that sounds too good to be true. I closed that book, and the next day I called my mom, because I didn't own a hothouse yet. And I said, Mom, I said, what do you think of your hothouse? She goes, I love it. I said, why? She goes, well, she was a beautician at the time, and she would stand, her feet would be sore, her legs would be sore, and her arms would be sore from working all day on women's hair, and she would use the hothouse every night before she went to bed, and she'd sleep all night long without pain. And I said, could I borrow that hothouse, because I want to demo it on some people and see if it helps? And she says, as long as you have it back by 8 o'clock at night. I said, not a problem. And so anyway, I brought the hothouse over to my house, and that day I had 4 people come over, and 3 women and 1 gentleman. And the first 3, I said, the 3 women, I said, does anybody have allergies? And the first lady said, Jeff, I'm so plugged up I can't breathe. And she sounded like that, just like a little pig. I mean, she was that plugged up, she couldn't breathe. And I said, would you do me a favor and test this hothouse over your face? She said, sure. So we put the hothouse over her face. Again, we put the moistened cotton balls, moistened Kleenexes over the eyes to keep the eyes closed. And after 15 minutes, we pulled the hothouse over her face, and she goes, I can breathe. I almost fell over. I couldn't believe how fast it worked. The second gal was all plugged up, just like the first gal. Couldn't breathe through her nose. She sounded, same thing, couldn't breathe at all. And she had bags underneath her eyes. Her face was swollen from the allergies. And I said, do you want to try? And she says, yes. So she laid down, put it over her face for 15 minutes, pulled it off her face, and she goes, I can breathe. How does my face look? And I said, well, I don't know. I really can't tell if there's any difference. So I said, why don't you go in the bathroom and look and see if you can tell if there's any difference. So she walks in the bathroom, comes back, and she goes, Jeff, I think it's a little bit better. Can I use it more? And I said, I don't know. I mean, this is the first time I've ever had the thing. So I'm flipping through this book, and I find where it says you can use the hot house for like 1 to 2 hours a day. So I told her that. So we put her back down on the floor, put the hot house back over her face, again, the moistened cotton balls, Kleenexes, and gave her 30 minutes more, pulled it off her face. It looked like she had a facelift. All the swelling was gone. The bags underneath her eyes were gone. She couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe this stuff is true. So then the third gal, she had a backache. And we put the hot house over the small of her back. Within 15 minutes of that, the backache was gone. The fourth one was a gentleman. He goes, Jeff, I don't have any problems. Anyway, I got through demoing all these machines. The ladies all left. The guy says to me, he says, Jeff, if I went to see this with my own eyes, I never would have believed it. And he went home. He already owned a chi machine, so he bought a second chi machine. He bought his first hot house. He called me 3 weeks later, and he said, Jeff, he said, I want to tell you what happened. He says, I bought the hot house and the extra chi. I went to my father-in-law's house, and I spent 3 days with him, working him with the chi machine in the hot house. We canceled his wheelchair order. And ever since then, I started demoing the chi machine and the hot house together. We're getting fabulous results. I'll give you another example. I met a guy that through one of my other businesses I've got, and he was about 70 years old at the time, up in Elk River. Was Jane Walter's father. And when I met him, he had lost his right leg up to his waist because of diabetes. And on his left foot, his second toe was oozing pus. And he showed this to me. And it looked bad. And he said, Jeff, he says, the doctor has scheduled me to have that toe cut off. He said, I'm not going to the doctor. I said, why not? He says, because that's how the right foot started. First it was the toe, then it was the ankle, then it was the knee. It wouldn't heal, wouldn't heal, wouldn't heal. Then it was the waist. He says, if I lose both legs, I'd rather be dead. I said, all right, well, I got some equipment that may help you. I can't make any promises, but let's give it a try. We put him in bed with the chi machine. We put a piece of plywood underneath the chi machine. We put the one leg in the chi machine, and we put the hot house over the foot with the oozing pus. Make sure he took off the socks so we get maximum penetration, kept it as close to the hot house as possible. And here's what happened. I didn't know this until later, but 3 weeks into it, it actually got worse because I didn't hear about this until like 6, 7 weeks later, but Jane Walters got scared. She said that the toe got worse. It started turning red. More pus was oozing out. She called a nurse friend of hers and told her what I was doing, and the nurse friend said, keep it up. It's healing from the inside out. They kept it up, and 6 weeks later, that toe was totally healed. Now, it's just unfortunate I wasn't able to meet him before he lost his right leg. So do you know anybody with diabetes that has an open sore or a wound that won't heal? I'm telling you, these machines are incredible. Another guy named David Greer, he had an opening sore this big on his leg, and the doctors had scheduled to cut his leg off. And he said he's not going to do it. He's right here in Minneapolis, and he decided to put his life in order. And he said he gave his life up to the Lord, and he was getting ready to basically get his life in order and pass on because he wasn't going to have his leg cut off. A friend of his introduced the chi machine to him through his wife. He wouldn't go on the chi machine at first. His wife said, you're going on that thing. He went on that chi machine. Within a week of using the chi machine, it started scabbing over, and it started itching because he got some feeling back. It took many months, but he totally got that sore to heal. He had been to all the doctors, the Mayo Clinic, specialists, and nothing would heal. But he's alive and well today, and he saved his leg. Again, do you know anybody that's got diabetes that could be helped? Absolute godsend to him. This is called The Healing Power of Far Infrared. It's a newspaper, and there's a couple of doctors that have written information here, but this is Dr. Brous, Dr. Richard Brous, and he's a chiropractic physician, biochemist, certified clinical nutritionist, teacher, author, and lecturer on health preservation and disease prevention. And he says, far infrared can help ease the pain and symptoms of problems such as arthritis, cancer, allergies, asthma, stress, injuries, diabetes, muscle fatigue, and poor circulation. Kind of all the things I just mentioned that we've had results with. And it says, we've even used it for people recovering from cancer surgery. In almost every instance, it seems to reduce pain and speed the healing process. Then Dr. Lipton, who's also in this paper, he talks about some of the benefits of the far infrared dome. The far infrared dome raises body temperature, which has many benefits. It promotes the killing of many pathogenic diseases causing bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites. The far infrared dome helps athletes recover faster from athletic trauma. It promotes rebuilding of injured tissue by having a positive effect on the fibroblasts. The far infrared dome detoxifies the environmentally ill patient. Far infrared brings about significant detoxification of heavy metals, including mercury and other environmental pollutants. So again, the far infrared is absolutely phenomenal for many, many things. In fact, I want to read just a couple of shorter testimonies on the far infrared hothouse. This one comes from Pam Connick in Los Angeles, California. It says, here's my testimony using the hothouse with a yeast infection. Once a year I get a yeast infection. I felt the familiar symptoms of itching and burning, so I went under the hothouse for 2 hours while I slept. The next day the itching was reduced. I did the same thing that night, and the next day all the symptoms disappeared. Pam Connick, Los Angeles, California. Here's another one from Katie Woolman, who's up in Canada. For the past 4 years, I have been a diabetic, taking pills for my diabetes on a daily basis. Then I was introduced to the Qi machine in the hothouse. A couple of weeks after started using the Qi machine, I had an appointment with the health nurse. The nurse told me that I had too many lows on my daily monitoring chart. She recommended I stop taking my pills for 1 week and monitor the results. If I were to have any problems, I should call and make an appointment. It has been nearly 7 months, and I still haven't made the call. For years, I had been watching what I ate. My husband and I eat quite healthily, and yet I have been unable to lose weight. After the Qi machine and hothouse came into my life, I have lost over 30 pounds, and I feel great. I have more energy than I have had in years. This is my testimony of how the Qi machine and hothouse have turned my life around. I have stopped taking my pills, lost a lot of weight, and I feel more alive. This has made a dramatic improvement in my life. Katie Woolman. Again, the machines are phenomenal. All you got to do is use them. I wanted to read the precautions that the company states on the hothouse. Now, on the new hothouses, there's a warning on the side of the hothouse saying, do not use over your face. Now, again, we've already talked about that. We've used it over the face. Many times we just keep the eyes closed. We use the moistened cotton balls or Kleenexes. In other countries, they haven't stopped using it over their face. It's one of those things that the company was told they had to put on the hothouse. So I tell you, you use it how you want to use it. Also, the warnings. It says this device should not be used if you have any acute diseases, open sores, a serious heart condition, are using a pacemaker, or have serious high blood pressure. Now, if I were to have followed the company's precautions that they state here, I wouldn't have been able to save that guy's toe that had that open sore. I wouldn't be able to use it on people with diseases like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, cancer, MS, all those things. I consider diabetes and all those things acute diseases. So again, the company has their warnings, but you're in charge of your life to do as you see is most going to benefit you. Now, what I recommend is that if somebody does have a pacemaker, they definitely don't use it over the pacemaker. You could use it over your head, over your legs, over your arms, but don't use it over the pacemaker unless you've got your doctor's approval. And we've had a couple of people that have taken the information to their doctor, and the doctor said that that was okay. But again, I would be cautious on that. We've had a few reports now with people saying they're using it and they've got cancer. And I want to just state this. This was a gal, came to our meeting about 6 months ago, and she had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. The doctors sent her home. They said there's nothing they could do. She used the hothouse over her cancer area. I tell people, wherever the problem is, use it over that area. She used it for 68 hours consecutively. She kept turning it on. After every hour, kept turning it on. She took it to bed with her. She laid underneath it. She slept underneath it. She ate underneath it. The only time she got up was to go get some food or go to the bathroom or do some laundry. So she stuck with it almost 68 hours. She went back to the doctor and they retested her after she used it for almost 3 days, and they diagnosed her as stage 1 cancer after almost 3 days. Then the doctor said, "We can now treat you." And she said, "I'm out of here," and she left. I met a gal up in Canada, was diagnosed with stomach cancer. It was the size of a grapefruit. And in fact, no, I didn't meet her personally. The gal that worked with her shared the story. She said it was diagnosed the size of a grapefruit, stomach cancer. She didn't own a hothouse, but this friend of ours borrowed her the hothouse over a weekend, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. Used it all weekend, went back to work for a week, borrowed it again, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, used it the whole weekend, went back to a doctor and got diagnosed. It was then the size of a golf ball. My father borrowed the hothouse to a friend of his up in Foley, Minnesota. The guy had some kind of a growth about the size of a tennis ball on his side. We don't know what it was. He did not go to the doctor. He used the hothouse for 1 week straight, 1 to 2 hours a day, and it disappeared. To this day, we don't know what it was. To this day, he doesn't care. It's gone. He feels good, and he bought a hothouse, and he uses it once or twice a week just to maintain his health. So I tell people, use the hothouse. Now with the hothouse, more is usually better, and you should drink twice as much water with the hothouse as you do with the Chi machine. The Chi machine, we recommend 4 ounces before the Chi and about 8 ounces afterwards. And I said water. I did not say alcohol. I did not say pop. I did not say coffee or tea. Water. With the hothouse, because it tends to create that heat internally and work internally, it's going to make you more thirsty, and that'll help flush out more toxins. So again, twice the amount of water. And if you're going to be using it for long periods of time, the company only recommends 1 or 2 hours a day. But again, people are using it at their own discretion for many, many hours, you know, if they've got a severe problem. If I had a severe problem like that, I would also use it that long. But drink water, a lot of water. Now, also sometimes what can happen is when you're using the hothouse, if you've got a pain, it may get worse. We've had some people where it got so bad they almost had to scream, but they stuck with it, and after about 15, 20 minutes, the pain went away and it was totally gone. Now, it was hurting to begin with, but it actually got worse before it got better. So if that ever happens to you, I just want you to know it could get worse before it gets better. So that's pretty much everything in the hothouse, and I hope you share these machines with anybody that has any of the problems we've listed today. Now we're going to demonstrate the proper use of the hothouse or far infrared or fur dome, different names that people use. There's a button on here. You turn it on like that and it makes a signal. It goes beep, 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 and it goes all the way up to an hour, but it's not actually on until you press the on button there. Now it's going to go for 15 minutes. You press it again, it'll be on for 30. Press it again, 45, again for 60. So you can go for up to a 1 hour session without having to restart it. And now, Pam, if you come over here and we'll demonstrate how to use this. So you can actually just lay on the floor. It's got little wheels on it, and you can just bring it over any part of your body that you want to. If you've got knee problems, put over the knees. If you've got waist problems, put over the waist. If you've got chest problems or stomach problems, put over that. If you want to use it over your head, we always recommend a moistened paper towel or a moistened Kleenex, and you just put that over your eyes, and then you can go ahead and put it over your head. So anytime you use this machine over your head, you always want to keep your eyes closed, and if you're going to be underneath there for a longer period of time, we recommend, like I said, the moistened Kleenexes, moistened cotton balls, or something good and moist. So again, this rolls up and down your entire body. All you're going to feel with this is slight warmth going in. It's creating what we call the far infrared. If a person wants to lay on their side, I'm going to have you turn your side, Pam, maybe face that way. Then you wouldn't have enough room. So the company has 2 extenders that are included with this. You can use an extender like this, and then you can go on your side so that it keeps you from touching the surface with that. We also have a second extender, but in this case, you really wouldn't need it, but you could use it. I tell people, don't use the extenders unless you need them, because you want to be, the closer you are to the far infrared heating session, the better. It's going to penetrate better. If you only need, say like a half of an extender, you could actually tip it on its side like that and then bring it down. You'd only use a half of one. Another way to use this machine is you can tip it on its side. It comes with a couple of armrests that actually just snap on, so you can get yourself inside of it and get comfortable, and you could sit there and read, you could watch TV, do whatever you want. Now it's going to cover your lower back and give you a session from your lower back down to your buttocks. And again, it's very nice and warm. All the machines now come with white safety grid in here, so that you can actually lean up against it with your clothes on, and it's not even a problem. The old ones didn't have that. You can actually order them without it if you want to, but we're telling people to probably keep that safety grid in there, because sometimes they take it to bed with them, and if you fall asleep, this will be good because it won't get too hot for you. The Chi machine and the hot house can be used together, and you actually get much better results if they're used together with the Chi machine and the hot house at the same time. If you really want to experience something absolutely wild, try using 3 hot houses and a Chi machine at the same time. It'll be like dying and going to heaven.